Well, that's fucking depressing. So it's been a motherfucker of a year. 3 members of my family have died in the last 13 months. First, my grandmother last summer, then my father last September, and then my aunt in February. It's one of those real fucked up things that makes you get kind of obsessive about your own mortality. And that's something I was already. So it's not great. And that doesn't even take into account life, work, jobs, economy, climate change, my very dear friends that are also dealing with loss and illness and the general fucked upness that is the world in its current state. So when I say it's been a motherfucker, that's what I mean. I am on SSRIs for complex PTSD, which often manifests in depressive episodes. Long story short, I can be a real fucking bummer sometimes, and I can get real bummed out sometimes. And I found out recently through the magic of genetic testing that I am predisposed to react favorably to antidepressants, like SSRIs. They tend to hit me a little harder and a little faster than the average patient, which is awesome because this time last year I was taking a 6-week leave of absence from my previous job to adjust that medication. That's not the point. The point is, I'm on SSRIs. I don't get depressive episodes very often anymore. Some stuff went down recently that kicked one off. I was sleeping more. I was sleeping really irregularly. I was kind of feeling like everything was pointless and nihilism reigned. I very frequently still feel that way. And what got me out of it is a pretty traumatizing horror movie that is famous for making people, among other things, faint and throw up during screenings. The movie is Terrifier 2. It is the sequel to Terrifier, which is a film about a murderous clown who may or may not be supernatural. Spoiler alert, he is. And both films are kind of notorious for being incredibly violent, graphic, and icky. For whatever reason, I heard that and just thought, that's for me. The central figure, anti-hero, perhaps, antagonist of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 is a gentleman, that's the wrong word, but gentleman by the name of Art the Clown. I did initially have a full Art the Clown getup. Listen, life is hard and I'm tired. So, Terrifier was an indie film. I think it had a really low budget, but it garnered a cult following because it's sort of crazy. And Terrifier 2 immediately blew Terrifier 1 out of the water because it is almost 2.5 hours long. Actually, that might be wrong. It might be longer than that. It is, 2 hours and 18 minutes. It's a little long. You know, generally when you're watching a horror film, you want like a tight 90. But the point is, Terrifier 2 was fucking people up. I will share a few choice quotes from people who attended screenings and also how the director and filmmaker of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 responded to those incidents. The point that I'm trying to make is I watch horror movies because either they're fun or they make me feel something, or sometimes both. And I have kind of a roster of content that I consume when I'm hitting a low point in a depressive episode, anything like that. And generally it consists of Marvel movies, Grey's Anatomy, and New Girl, and the Final Destination franchise. But I decided to try something new this time and consume a piece of content that I wasn't familiar with, didn't know what to expect, was curious about. Not gonna lie, it went pretty well. What I really love about horror content in general is when it's good, it's really good. You can tell that the people who worked on the project cared about it, or were having a lot of fun, or both. One really great example of that is the Evil Dead franchise, which is pretty gnarly, but you can tell it was a passion project for a lot of people, and they had a pretty good time. Terrifier 2 is the same. I can't really speak to Terrifier. For all that it is a fun slasher, it's also kind of a downer. But what I really loved about Terrifier 2, the almost 2.5 hour murder clown movie, was that you could just tell that the people working on it were having a great time. Even if you couldn't tell that, pretty sure the 6 or 7 minute long musical dream sequence interlude probably clued you in. Yeah, there's a musical dream sequence interlude. Was it disturbing and violent and stressful? Oh yeah. Was it so much fun to watch? Oh yeah. I had a good time. It doesn't hurt that the It doesn't hurt that the original song from the musical dream sequence interlude is incredibly catchy. Sorry in advance. One thing that's kind of interesting about PTSD is that it can be really difficult to step outside your comfort zone. Specifically, that's why a lot of people with PTSD, specifically complex PTSD, consume the same content over and over. They watch the same movies, they reread books, they binge watch TV shows that they've seen before. And I can generally tell when I'm in the middle of a depressive episode, when the idea of starting a new book or trying a new TV series or even watching a movie is so daunting that it doesn't even seem feasible. Okie dokie artichoke. That's embarrassing. I'm already sorry I said that. Maybe it was the adrenaline boost from watching just an unimaginable amount of gory, squishy, practical effects. Or maybe it was just being shoved a little outside of my comfort zone and finding a murdery, violent, bloody, gory, musical dream sequence interlude to break my fall. But feeling a little better. I think for next Friday's video, I'll do a full recap of Terrifier and Terrifier 2. Content warning in advance for everything. Literally everything, but particularly like my brand of horror movie inspired joy. So without further ado, here are some reviews and comments from people who attended screenings. From RatShitBastard on Twitter, #Terrifier 2. My friend passed out and the theater called an ambulance. Highly recommended. I feel like RatShitBastard and I would be friends. They took a picture of their friend with paramedics and everything. It's great. Shout out to paramedics. They have a hard job. That was from October 9th, 2022. From October 6th, Ryan Ray XTS. Terrifier 2 is so gory, I puked in my popcorn. That sucks, Ryan. I'm sorry about your popcorn. From TJ Bark, just saw Terrifier 2. It was an amazing, gory mess. The guy behind me passed out cold and crashed into my chair. Another guy left because he didn't feel good. I overheard him walking out the theater door. I heard a guy puking hard and loud in the bathroom. Hashtag Terrifier 2. And this guy actually tagged the director at Damien Leone. So Damien Leone, the director of Terrifier and Terrifier 2, writer and director, I should say, had this to say. Listen, I would have loved to have a couple of walkouts. I think that's sort of a badge of honor because it is an intense movie. I don't want people fainting, getting hurt during the movie, but it's surreal. Here's the thing, it's called Terrifier 2. You should probably see Terrifier 1 before you jump into this one. If you see Terrifier 1, you know what you're getting into. There is a now notorious murder scene, a hacksaw scene, in part 1 that everyone walks away talking about. This is true. It's real gross. We tried to rival that scene because the really supportive fan base that we've had this entire time that has really started to put art on a pedestal, I mean, those are the things that they really want. I think this movie is more accessible. It is. But we're essentially still making these movies for them, and if other people want to come on board, the more the merrier. And the more the merrier. The movie ended, and I got up, and I said, well, I was fucked. Because it was. The food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe. I had a great time. I have had that song stuck in my head for weeks. And instead of just curling up in like a blanket burrito ball of sadness, I did some shit. Shit like getting on YouTube, which I guess we'll see how it goes. One of the reasons that I ended up on YouTube is because I discovered over the course of, trauma and the pandemic and last year in which it's just been kind of a bad time, that it's really nice to be able to just sit in my house and hang out with my pets and talk about things that I like horror movies, and talk about things that hopefully will help people, like job search tips, like interviewing and negotiation, and like mental health and neurodiversity. I think they're probably not talked about enough. Anyway, if you have a strong stomach, I recommend Terrifier and Terrifier 2. There have been a grand total of 2 movies that have made me feel sick to my stomach. Neither one of them was a Terrifier film. I don't know what that says about me, but if you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. And stick around for more awkward mental health horror movie human resources content. Thanks.